Welcome to Miles Ahead, episode 6. Miles Ahead is brought to you by frugalflyer.ca. It's hard to believe we've already done 6 episodes. I'm excited for us as we approach double digits. So I, Reed, am joined on this episode by Josh, Jeff, and Quentin. How are you guys today? Have you been eating, sleeping, and dreaming about your next hotel redemption?
Never stop.
Always looking for.
Always planning the next one, you know?
That's what I like to hear. So today we're going to be talking all about hotel loyalty programs, specifically what I'd call the big 3 programs, which are Marriott Bonvoy, Hilton Honors, and World of Hyatt. This episode will be a little different in that we're not going to be going super specific into each of these programs, but rather it'll be a bit more of a debate style or just a opinion style where we all offer our insights on where we think each hotel program excels and which program is the best across different aspects of a loyalty program. So namely, which hotel program is best for earning, which hotel program is best for redeeming, and which hotel program is best for elite status. So spoiler alert, the answer is going to be it depends. It's all subjective. These programs are all different. They have different advantages, disadvantages. And so I think the takeaway is going to be that everyone can find different value from these programs. And hopefully we're able to illuminate some of that on this episode. So to start off, I wanted everyone on the podcast to just give a little recap of a memorable redemption that they had. It can be recent or not recent, just and what program it was and how you earn the points. So Josh, do you want to go first on that?
Sure. So just a few days ago, I came back from about a 2-week trip to Japan. First time in Japan. It was excellent. Can't wait to go back. Part of this trip was burning a large amount of hotel points, particularly Hilton Honors points. I've been accruing for quite some time between myself and my significant other. And there's not really a ton of great redemptions in North America. So since we finally had the chance to get out of the continent and get somewhere where Hilton Honors points are incredibly valuable, like Japan, we booked a bunch of stays using the points. Most notably, we started the trip with a 5-night stay at the Conrad Tokyo. Conrad Tokyo costs 95,000 Hilton Honors points per night. However, if you book 4 nights on points, you do get the 5th night free. So we were able to secure a 5-night stay for 380,000 Hilton Honors points. I know that sounds like a ton of points. It is, if you look at the raw numbers, but the reality is Hilton Honors points are, in my eyes, one of the most easily earnable currencies en masse. Credit card bonuses on US Hilton's Honors cards are massive. Oftentimes they're repeatable with the use of no lifetime language links and other fun games that you can do with US card applications. Not to mention, many of these cards also offer free night certificates, which is incredibly valuable in the Hilton ecosystem. Hilton Honors free night certificates can be used for pretty much any property, no matter the points cost. So we were able to do a 5-night stay at the Conrad Tokyo, which I highly recommend. Service was great. Rooms are great. Location is fantastic. Breakfast buffet, phenomenal. For, 380,000 Hilton Honors, cash rate would have been about 3,500 CAD for those 5 nights. So well worth it. Great redemption. Happy to use my points there. Jeff, what about you?
Yeah, so last year I had the chance to go to Dubai with my dad. And, growing up, my brother and I were fortunate enough to have parents that took us on a lot of vacations. So it was really nice that I was able to repay him some and take him to Dubai. And we had a chance to go to Al Maha, which is a luxury collection property out in the Dubai desert. And it's one of the top aspirational properties in the Marriott portfolio. It's one of the first things that I kind of picked out when I was getting to the points and miles game. It was really one that I'd always really wanted to visit. So I was really happy to be able to take my dad. Prices there are crazy expensive. You're talking $2,000 plus a night or well over 100,000 points a night. So I was able to find a couple nights that were on the lower end of $100,000, 100,000 points, I should say, and was able to use one 85,000 point free night certificate with a 15,000 point top up For one of the nights, I got that certificate from the Marriott Bonvoy Brilliant card, which is a US issued card. And for the second night, I just redeemed the 100,000 points. And it was a super memorable trip. It's an incredible property. It's all inclusive. The food's amazing. The activities on site are really neat. You can go on not game drives, but you can drive around the reserve and see all the animals, and you can go dune bashing. Tons of stuff to do there. And even though we didn't really get a chance to take advantage of the fifth night free that Marriott offers, we only spent 2 nights there, and it was still plenty of time to take in all that the property had to offer, and really memorable. And I was glad that I was able to do that with my dad.
I heard you also get to dine with celebrity basketball players there.
Yes. It's a different world, those types of hotels. When we sat down, I looked over my dad's shoulder, and sitting there was Steph Curry from the Golden State Warriors at the very next table. So that's the kind of clientele that you're going to get to rub shoulders with.
Yeah, that's awesome. Quentin, what about you?
I don't have it's hard to top a story that ends with Steph Curry was at the table behind us. So while Jeff was living it up in luxury over in Dubai, I took a more kind of tamer trip, if you will. I ventured down to Tulum, Mexico in May, so just earlier this year, at the Hilton Tulum Riviera Maya all-inclusive resort. It's one of Hilton's first stabs at the all-inclusive model. And my biggest thing when going to all-inclusives is kind of worrying about food, the quality of food, availability of food. And it kind of blew me out of the water there. There were 6 dedicated restaurants that served different types of cuisine. Food was available at all times. There was a pool bar and dedicated areas for adults only or kids. It was a really, really well done all-inclusive. And I didn't actually redeem points, Hilton Honors points for it, funnily enough. I ended up using my Hilton Honors Surpass card to pay a cash rate of about $280 USD per night for myself and my partner. We stayed there for a couple nights, and we'll get into this a little bit later, but the Hilton cards have these crazy multipliers when you actually spend them at Hilton properties. So I was able to kind of grow my nest egg a little bit there after the stay too.
Awesome. For myself, my most recent trip to Asia in spring of this year, I put together a bit of a hodgepodge of different redemptions, which include a Marriott redemption and a Hilton redemption. So I actually used 50K free night certificates I got from the Chase Marriott Bonvoy Boundless credit card for a stay at the Renaissance Koh Samui. So that was awesome. And I also redeemed 2 Hilton Aspire free night certificates on the Conrad Singapore. So the great thing about both these stays was that my elite night status provided complimentary room upgrades and also free breakfast and access to the executive lounge at the Conrad. So myself and my partner really enjoyed both of those stays. And it also just really opened my eyes up to how much more value you can get from these programs. Sometimes when you're in countries abroad like Asia and lots of other countries outside of North America. So just to jump into it here, when it comes to making a hotel redemption, the first step is, earning that currency or that free night award. So as far as earning hotel loyalty program currency, which of these programs is the best for that?
So I think if you're a Canadian starting out, your options are pretty limited in full transparency. There's not a lot of co-branded hotel credit cards in Canada, and the reality is similar to frequent flyer programs and other miles and points programs. Credit cards are the best way to earn. So for most Canadians, in my eyes, starting out, and it's not a bad program to start out without consideration, but it's Marriott Bonvoy, right? We have the 2 American Express Marriott Bonvoy cards, the personal and the business versions, that usually have decent welcome offers, plus some nice perks like a free night certificate and some nights towards status. So that's kind of where I think most Canadians would start out.
Yeah, I would agree. I would say, As far as co-branded credit cards, of course, that is your only option in Canada. But you can still access Hilton through transfers from Marriott from American Express membership rewards. So that is one avenue. But yeah, when we talk about status too, like I find there's a lot of more value that you can get from the US cards.
For sure. Would you ever recommend, or has anyone ever transferred membership rewards in Canada to Marriott or Hilton?
No, I haven't. I just think
No.
it's the value really isn't there, right? You got Aeroplan sitting right in front of you while on that same transfer page, and you can get a much better redemption that way than in transfer.
Yeah, you'd have to be sitting on a lot of membership rewards for that to be, I think, an option in your, in my mind as a miles and points.
I think an argument can be made to transfer American Express to Marriott when there's a transfer bonus. There's still decent value to be had there. So outside of that, I'd say probably not worth it, but they do transfer bonuses fairly often. And if you need a quick top up, it can definitely be a good use of your points.
Yeah, I will admit I've done it once. I was booking the Westin Bora Bora, which just recently opened. I was booking it about a year out. I mean, I was short about 15K Bonvoy for a 5-night stay. So I did transfer 15K in a moment of weakness, but for the greater good, and hopefully the stay was worth it. But yeah, I do think it's few and far between, but I definitely wouldn't discount it. But I don't know if I'd start from a balance of 0 Marriott and accrue that way. I think it's kind of in the middle of the road as a good option.
I think you make a great point there, Josh. Like when you're just shy of making a great redemption, I think I find myself guilty of doing this all the time, and I'm sitting on a transferable point currency in which I think I value another program higher than let's say program A over program B, but I'm just kind of on the cusp of being able to make a redemption on program B. So in that case, I think I can sacrifice a little bit of what I value the currency and just kind of top myself up to make a redemption that way. So I think that's a good caveat to keep in mind.
For sure. So Marriott, most accessible for Canadians. Hilton, accessible through transferring membership rewards. No way to earn World of Hyatt points in Canada, correct?
Not that I'm aware of.
Outside of staying, of course, which is the avenue we would never recommend accruing large amounts of points through unless if you have business or work travel.
So I was just going to say the only other way would be to transfer it to, oh no, sorry.
Is this going to be a five program transfer?
Yeah, I had something in mind, but don't worry about it.
You got to move it to this program and then that program and then this program. Now your points are worth about 0.0001, but hell, you did it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now your points are the transfer time is 2 months. And
yeah, you've transcended miles and points greatness at that point, I think. So US though, US is obviously a whole other game when it comes to credit cards and earning in all three of these programs, frankly. So what's everybody's strategy? And, do you think the value is there in earning these hotel program points in the States?
I'll be frank, starting off, like I don't even have one of the Canadian Marriott Bonvoy cards. I think without US cards, I wouldn't be redeeming for hotel stays at all. And I think my first US card, the Hilton Honors no fee card, and that kind of set off my Hilton journey, really.
Yeah, the Hilton card was my first card too. It just makes a lot of sense because there's no annual fee.
Yeah, and I that was my first foray into the Hilton program, and then I think my second card ended up then being the Surpass card, which I'm able to accrue because even if I'm paying for a stay at Hilton, I'm accruing 12 times per dollar, 12 Hilton Honors points per dollar on everything I spend when even making a cash booking. So that's really how I accrue most of my hotel points. The other way would be through Chase, and my other favorite hotel program being Hyatt. But I value Hilton a little bit more because of the elite status that comes with the credit cards that they offer.
Yeah, I also started with the Hilton no fee card. I think that's the best card to start with. As a little side comment, if you have gone through the Hilton, ecosystem, you can also eventually upgrade that no fee to an Aspire if you just want to keep it open and then get the free night on that as well. Of course, make sure you apply for the Hilton Aspire card first so you get the welcome bonus on it, but there's always a link out there that works to upgrade it. Similarly, so full transparency, I really only recently got into Chase after, we'll call it 5 years of half trying, which was lobbing an application in here and there. I never went in branch, but finally got approved. So I'm slowly working towards earning more ultimate rewards points to transfer to Hyatt. Hilton's been my bread and butter for years. That's the cards are just so accessible, such high welcome bonuses that also include free nights from time to time. So like recently there was the American Express Hilton Honors Surpass card that had a welcome bonus of 130,000 Hilton Honors points plus a free night, which if you use it well, it's worth up to like 120K points for spending 3K in 6 months. Like how can you beat that? Especially if you get a no lifetime language link that lets you get the card after already holding it once. Frankly, I sign up for as many of those as I can between all the people that I, participate in miles and points with.
Yeah, I think if you just stuck to Marriott and Hilton and stopped there, you'd be honestly fine because of both their footprints so massive, you wouldn't really need to do really anything else.
For sure. Yeah, I agree. I think Hyatt fills a niche, which we'll touch on when we get into the redeeming section. But I know Quentin mentioned it a bit, and I know Reed, when he was talking about his most favorite recent redemption, talked about using free night certificates from the Chase Marriott Bonvoy Boundless. There's a ton of Marriott cards in the States, so there's no shortage of being able to earn Marriott. Anyone have any favorite cards that they prefer, whether it be for the welcome bonus or benefits that come with these Marriott Bonvoy US cards?
I mentioned the Marriott Bonvoy Brilliant card earlier. I've had that for several years now. It's a card worth keeping. The annual fee is really high. It's $650 USD, but you get the 85K free night award every year. You get automatic platinum status, which really helps. You get the 25 elite qualifying nights, which really helps to get to titanium if that's something that you're wanting to do. And the American Express business card is also generally worth keeping because for those that don't know, the elite qualifying nights from that card and the elite qualifying nights from the Brilliant card stack. So you actually start the year with 40 nights, which helps a lot.
Yeah, that's a huge plus, whether you're looking to work towards the 75 nights for titanium or even just working towards Marriott Bonvoy lifetime status. Those elite qualifying nights play a big role. That Bonvoy Brilliant card is really good. For anybody who's interested in it, I'd recommend waiting till there's a good welcome offer. I know we've seen some recently, so I wouldn't settle for anything less than 150K Bonvoy on it. It does also come with a monthly 25 USD dining credit, and if you're used to US credit cards at all, a lot of these credits can't be used outside of the States, but this one actually can. It works on Uber, it works on DoorDash, it works at restaurants worldwide. If it codes as a restaurant, you can use it. So while it sucks to have another card that's a bit of a coupon book with the 25 USD per month, it's $300 back towards the annual fee at the end of the day, effectively. So it's really not a bad value proposition at all.
Yeah, I've had no problem using that $25 a month credit in Canada. I just spend it when we go out once a month, and it's easy to use. You don't have to register for anything. It's just automatically applied.
See, I'd be okay with the coupon book credit card benefits like that if they were all that easy to use, to say the least.
Yeah.
So Hyatt wise, I think that's the only one we haven't really touched on. So the only way to really accrue Hyatt is through Chase Ultimate Rewards, right? Does anybody have any strategy? Are they working on accruing Hyatt right now, whether through the personal Chase cards or the business Chase cards?
I'm working on accruing Chase Ultimate Rewards and then in anticipation of making a higher redemption, but that'll be my first higher redemption. So it is nice just kind of having that as an option, but definitely it's not my main program. So
I'm currently working on I love Chase Ultimate Rewards points. I think it might be one of my favorite, if not my favorite, points currencies, hands down. The way I accrue a lot of points is through either through spending on my Chase Sapphire Preferred card, or probably what's better is getting multiple Ink Business cards, whether that be the Ink Business Cash, Ink Business Unlimited, or Ink Business Preferred. And right now, as we're filming this podcast, there's elevated sign-up bonuses for, I believe, the Cash and the Unlimited for 90,000 Chase Ultimate Rewards points. So that's how I accrue a lot of my points, is through kind of going and getting multiple of these business cards, because they aren't as restricted as the Freedom cards.
So as someone who's pretty new to the Chase ecosystem here, only within the last couple months, any tips you guys have for getting Chase business cards as I look to go down that path in the next while here?
I actually wrote an article about this on Frugal Flyer, how to get your first Chase business card. It's a long process. You're generally going to want to have at least a year of history with Chase before they will probably even consider you. And even then, you'll probably get initially declined. So you'll generally have to go call in and answer a lot of questions. Chase is pretty strict when it comes to approving new business accounts. So if the footing of your business is less than legit, let's say, you're probably going to run into some issues unless you're a really good sweet talker. But it's definitely worth it. Like, most of their business cards have 0 annual fee, and when you can, grab 90,000 points for 0 annual fee, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah, I would say lately they seem to be less. So I just got my second Ink business card, and I've never really been questioned. Like, it's never been automatic approval, but they've never asked anything more than just to confirm my ITIN number. So I haven't really had to go through the rigmarole around business, but definitely that's something you should be prepared for when you're calling in.
Yeah, I think it's a very much your miles may vary here, because Jeff seemed to have a really hard time. Reed got denied, but can call in and just get verified. I was instantly approved for both of my first two business cards, the Ink Cash and the Ink Unlimited, and I've been and then after that I've been pre-approved through multiple offers, so I haven't really had to call in. So I think if piece of advice I guess we can give anyone listening to this, it really doesn't hurt to try. You don't know if you'll be a Jeff, a Reed, or a Quentin in this case.
Yep.
Yeah. If the worst thing that could happen is a decline, you're doing pretty damn good.
If you don't get some declines once in a while, you're not trying hard enough.
Yep.
That's my motto. So once someone's earned a bunch of points, let's say they've earned points in all the programs, as far as redeeming hotel loyalty program currency, what are some things to be aware of there with each program, and what do you guys tend to favor, or which program stands out between the three?
So a feature that I really like that's a big selling point, both Marriott Bonvoy and Hilton Honors offer this benefit that I referred to when I was talking about the Conrad Tokyo. If you book 4 nights using Marriott Bonvoy points or Hilton Honors points, you get the 5th night free, like free, which is a crazy valuable benefit. In my stay at the Conrad Tokyo, that essentially saved me 95,000 points on that 5th night. The nights do have to be booked as one booking, so you do need to book 5 nights at once, and the 5th night is automatically discounted, but Marriott offers this as well as Hilton, and that kind of keeps me with those programs mainly for any longer stays. Unfortunately, it's not something that's offered by World of Hyatt, so that is a bit of a shortfall there if we're outright comparing them on that benefit.
On the flip side, World of Hyatt points are, World of Hyatt points tend to go a lot further. And that's partly because of this non-dynamic or fixed pricing that Hyatt is still using, as opposed to Marriott and Hilton, which have dynamic pricing, which we've talked about before with airline programs, and it's kind of the same concept. Sometimes you look at a redemption and the amount of points that it costs per night just doesn't really make any sense as far as the actual cash rate. And that's just due to due to the extreme demand for that particular hotel?
I really like kind of the way I look at redemptions is I'll actually start with, if I'm going to a larger city, like a metropolitan area around the world, I'll actually start with Hyatt first. Most big cities, if not all big cities, do have a couple of Hyatt hotels in them. And like Reed said, your points do go a bit further. And if you do kind of the point or cents per point calculation on your redemptions, it oftentimes exceeds 2 cents per point when you're transferring your Chase Ultimate Rewards to Hyatt points. So that's where I'll typically start first. And then I'll start looking at Hilton afterwards if there really is no Hyatt hotel or if there isn't a Hyatt hotel that can get me good value.
Would you say, so out of the three, does Hyatt have the smallest footprint typically?
Yes,
Yeah.
by far.
Yeah, I would say Marriott has the largest, and then Hilton's good, but probably maybe a close second, and then Hyatt's a bit smaller.
Do you find, depending on where you're traveling in the world, are there better programs to pick that you kind of get more value out of hotels in certain stays, or is it all universal in the sense that, if you're going to Asia, regardless of where you're staying and what brand, like you're going to get a much better experience than what you would in North America?
I think it's pretty similar across the board. Once you're outside of North America, the standards just seem to improve a lot. And I think that applies to all three of the brands we've been discussing.
Makes sense. We were chatting a little bit before this episode, and Reed has a trip that he's been planning, and the concept of all-inclusives came up, and one program really seemed to stand above the other two in regards to all-inclusives.
Yeah, so if you're really into all-inclusives, and I'm specifically referring to Mexico, Central America, the Caribbean, World of Hyatt is going to be your number one choice. They have close to 100 properties in and around Mexico and the Caribbean, and a handful in the Mediterranean as well. What's nice about World of Hyatt's all-inclusives is that they kind of position them as luxury properties, virtually all of them, as it seems. So no matter where you go, you're going to get a pretty great stay. And once again, you don't have to worry about the dynamic pricing. They are subject to a separate award chart, but award pricing is still pretty reasonable at around 40 to 50,000 points a night. You unfortunately don't get the fifth night free at Hyatt properties, though.
But you're spending less points to begin with, so
far less points.
It works out, I think. Yeah, I feel like when I'm searching, I very rarely see a Marriott all-inclusive properties. I think that's something they're maybe catching up on. But other than like in destinations like Mexico, which are just kind of, if you're not all-inclusive, then you're going to fall behind because that's just the
demand, yeah.
The demand there, but yeah.
So each one of these loyalty programs, Marriott Bonvoy, Hilton Honors, and World of Hyatt, all have kind of a, they obviously have many brands within them, right? Whether you're just looking for somewhere to sleep or you're looking for a more luxury boutique experience, all three of these programs you can experience anything from the basic to the most extravagant. Interestingly enough, a couple of them have partnerships and programs that really stand out. So recently, Hilton Honors partnered with Small Luxury Hotels of the World, or SLH for short. SLH used to be partnered with World of Hyatt before they moved over to Hilton Honors. These are very boutique, in many cases very small hotels throughout the world that aren't, or previously, aren't under a specific brand, but they're now bookable with Hilton Honors points. This is obviously a massive plus because since they're bookable with Hilton Honors points, they're also redeemable with Hilton Honors free night certificates, which are very easy to earn through a lot of the Hilton Honors credit cards. So it's a massive value proposition for those who are earning and looking to redeem Hilton for truly kind of out of these world experiences, no matter where you are traveling. I know since Small Luxury Hotels of the World moved away from Hyatt that they've adapted a new program. Has anyone looked into Mr. and Mrs. Smith?
Yeah, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, honestly, was a big disappointment. The properties themselves look amazing. Unfortunately, the way they were implemented into the World of Hyatt system not so great. In a shift from their award charts, all their Mr. and Mrs. Smith properties are priced dynamically, where you can expect to get maybe 1 cent per point if you're lucky, whereas at properties that are subject to the award chart, it's usually no problem to get over 2 cents per point. So it ended up landing with a bit of a thud. And unless you are absolutely swimming in World of Hyatt points and really want to stay at one of these boutique hotels, unfortunately, it's just not worth it.
Yeah, it's really too bad. It feels like such a missed opportunity, especially since they had the small luxury hotels of the world. But not every partnership and not every integration, I suppose, can always be outstandingly beneficial for us. Interestingly enough, Marriott doesn't really have any of these partnerships. They have their own high-end brands within the brand, such as, Ritz-Carlton, St. Regis, and the like. If you are looking for more unique and abstract experiences and stays within the Marriott Bonvoy chain, we really love and favor any Autograph Collection hotels. I think we've all stayed at many memorable locations, and we have a ton of Autograph Collection reviews on Frugal Flyer. Even within Alberta, where Reed and I reside, we have the Dorian in Calgary, which is awesome. And we have Kananaskis Mountain Lodge in the Rockies, which is stunning. And they do s'mores every night, which is always a treat.
Is there anything like that in Hilton or Hyatt brands, like a Autograph-like brand, or not really?
I would say the closest competitor or to that in the Hilton program would probably be the Curio Collection. And then maybe at Hyatt, you have like maybe Andaz and Alila.
Right.
Hilton will also have kind of, if we're talking about luxury brands, like Waldorf Astoria, LXR, Conrad, those are up there with high-end hotels.
Yeah. I think if you're looking for luxury and boutique at any of the 3 loyalty programs, you'll find it. If you have the points to support it, there's definitely stunning and aspirational stays at all 3 programs, which is awesome for those who are interested in traveling like that.
So another aspect of hotel programs that I know a lot of us really appreciate is elite status. So I know we've already talked and touched on it a bit. Lots of us have Marriott and status with Marriott and status with Hilton. In terms of the value we get from these, where would they rank for you guys, as far as Marriott, Hilton, and Hyatt?
I personally like Hilton. Granted, I don't currently hold status with Marriott right now, so I might be a little bit biased, but I think Hilton status is among the most approachable, namely because you could get top tier status just by holding one of their credit cards. So you can get top tier diamond status just by holding their Hilton Honors Aspire card. Granted, it does come with a quite a hefty annual fee of $650, but it does come with quite a number of benefits, and you do have some credits with it. And if $650 is a little bit too much to digest, a really great alternative is the Hilton Surpass card for a much lower annual fee, but it just still does come with gold status, which comes with perks such as dining credits, food and beverage credits at U.S. properties, or free breakfast at international properties, as well as $200 in quarterly credits if you spend them at Hilton. So I think in terms of value and accessibility, Hilton has people beat, I think.
Yeah, you really, with Hilton, obviously always aim for the highest status you can get. And like Quentin said, both myself and my partner hold Aspire cards for the diamond status and the free night certificate and all the credits. But if you're staying at a Hilton and you're going abroad and you just want free breakfast, all you need is gold. It's on the Surpass card, super accessible for a low annual fee, and it would save you a ton of money throughout your vacation. And I know Jeff on this episode, I know he's done a deep dive into all 3 hotel loyalty status programs and the breakfast benefits they offer, and he's definitely familiar with the value and savings that those programs can bring with status.
Yeah, it's probably the biggest factor, at least for me, when I'm determining where I stay, is what's going to give me a really great breakfast. And Hyatt and Hilton both have a really consistent breakfast benefit, whereas Marriott's breakfast benefit I find to be really frustrating because it varies so much between brand to brand, where you are in the world, and various other factors where you basically need to consult a flow chart to figure out where I'm going to get where and what kind of breakfast I'm going to get at which property, which really kind of detracts a lot from the program. But once you kind of get your head wrapped around what you can expect at each property, it becomes a little easier. But it's a big point of frustration in the program.
Yeah, that's something I've found too, like not just with breakfast, but there's certain brands with Marriott, like I'm thinking Edition or Ritz-Carlton, for example, where having status just really is meaningless. They don't really care. So you're unlikely to get upgrades, or you don't get breakfast. So they're still like fantastic, really nice properties, and I've enjoyed when I've stayed at them, but just something to be aware of when you're looking at all the different redemption options with the different programs.
Yeah, that kind of puts a damper on even booking it for me sometimes if I know I'm already kind of starting off disadvantaged. I mean, of course, worth it and spend the money and spend the points if it's a nice property. I know we touched on it before, but Marriott Bonvoy status, a little bit more work to earn. You can still earn Platinum Elite status, which is kind of the most, earliest significant status, as it comes with breakfast, lounge access, suite upgrades, and you get like Suite Night Awards or SNAs. Or I guess they're nightly upgrade awards now is what they're called. NUAs, which does not roll off the tongue as nicely. So that's good. You can earn that just by holding the American Express Marriott Bonvoy Brilliant card in the States that Jeff mentioned previously. But it's also not overly difficult to organically accrue the nights for Marriott Bonvoy status. So Platinum Elite requires 50 nights, which can seem like a lot. As Jeff mentioned, if you were to hold a couple US credit cards that both offer elite qualifying nights as a benefit, so typically it has to be a personal Marriott Bonvoy card and a business Marriott Bonvoy card, you combine those elite qualifying nights and you can already be at 30 or even 40. Marriott also, for the past few years, and of course, things that happen in the past are never means that they're certainly going to happen in the future, but it's a pretty good indicator. In Q1, Q2, around there, they've typically offered a double elite qualifying nights promotion, which has been fantastic as it's paired very nicely with a lot of local promotions in Canada. So I know in Edmonton, we have what is called Stay Edmonton, which is like a local tourism promotion where if you book 3 nights, they give you like $150 gift card or something, and you can attach your Marriott Bonvoy number to it. So I know many of us in Edmonton who participate in this, we are able to essentially get down to an effective cost of $7, $8 per elite qualifying night through this combination of Marriott's promo and the local promo. I know there's something similar that happens in Vancouver called Stay Vancouver, I believe. So there's definitely some ways you can play around to essentially mattress run or generate stay nights without paying, $200 a night. So I guess that leaves us with World of Hyatt. How do you guys feel about earning World of Hyatt status? And does anybody on this episode hold any sort of meaningful status with World of Hyatt?
So I have the Chase World of Hyatt personal card, which gives Discover a status, which is the entry-level status. It doesn't come with much other than a late checkout and some additional points earnings. It's really all there is that it offers. And otherwise, there's no shortcut to status with World of Hyatt. You have to stay 60 nights or earn 100,000 points in a year. And there's really nothing else to say other than that. They don't make it easy. And a lot of people that are World of Hyatt members, Globalist members, really appreciate that because it doesn't water down the benefits for everyone else.
You just got to spend $150,000 on your card and you've got it.
It's that simple. I agree. World of Hyatt status seems to be the most exclusive and actually meaningful if you can reach Globalist. I don't think any of us on the episode are planning to pursue that, as it requires a ton of effort and spend that could be better used elsewhere. But World of Hyatt has a unique benefit for those globalist members. So those who earn the highest status receive these kind of guest of honors vouchers or certificates that can be applied towards other bookings that other members make that essentially give them, pseudo globalist status for the stay. So that includes, free breakfast, suite upgrades, and all of that. Has anyone, ran into anyone who's been willing to use those on or, purchased them or traded for them through less than legitimate means?
Yeah, they're pretty easy to come across because once a globalist member has reached their globalist status, they don't really need guest of honor awards anymore. They become pretty much useless to them. So those members will usually try to offload them for something else, either money or something else that they can use, such as a free night award. So if you're able to make a trade, whether it be through cash or free night awards, you can get your hands on those and make yourself globalist for a stay, which I think can be really worth it if you have. It's a nice way to be able to access some of those benefits without having to put in all the time and effort and money into actually earning the status.
Yeah, I would agree. Honestly, if I were doing a 5-night stay at a Hyatt property that wasn't all inclusive, and if I could buy a guest of honor cert for $100, to me, that's a no-brainer. That's paid off within a day or two, easy with breakfast alone, let alone the other perks that come with it. So it's a good avenue.
Yeah, and the same can be said for even the free night awards because they're only category 1 to 4. So, I mean, they could probably be at most worth $200.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're doing a 5, 6, 7 night stay at a luxury property, you could easily spend $500 on breakfast. So,
yeah, absolutely. So I think at least Hyatt, no easy path unless if you're, committed or traveling for business or whatever it may be. As the average miles and points enthusiast, you're probably not going to get that globalist status. So look into guest of honor certificates as a kind of good alternative or backup. The reality is, though, for Marriott and Hilton Honors, is there's more easier pathways, especially if you're willing to pay high annual fees. But the reality is, if you want to fast track status in Marriott Bonvoy or Hilton Honors, you need to get involved in U.S. credit cards as a Canadian. There's no real way around that. Hilton co-branded cards are obviously only offered by American Express USA. And if you want to double stack those elite qualifying nights on the Marriott Bonvoy cards, they have to be U.S. credit cards. So there's no real shortcut there.
So, question for everybody. I know we all have talked about dabbling in different programs. Does a person getting into this need to focus on one program at the start, or can they take more of an approach of, getting into all of them, or does it depend on their travel patterns? What do you guys think?
I think the easiest and the cop-out answer here is it really depends on your travel habits. I think starting out, if I were to start out all over again, I think I'd do pretty much the exact same thing, is start with a U.S. credit card start in the U.S. credit card game with Hilton and really just think about how I can maximize either paid stays or redemptions with Hilton first and then start expanding it that way. After that, when you're collecting a more diverse kind of portfolio of points, then you can kind of branch out to Hyatt and Marriott. And I think that's what a lot of people end up doing. But frankly, you don't need to pick one, but I think it's almost easier to pick one so you don't kind of throw yourself into a roller coaster right away.
Yeah, I agree. Honestly, it doesn't hurt to start with one. Keep it simple. For those out there who earn miles and points with partners or significant others or family, it is important to note that you can actually transfer Marriott Bonvoy points from one member to another. So you can transfer up to $100K per year, no cost. You can transfer up to 500,000 Hilton Honors points per year. So
can you do that with Hyatt as well or no? Jeff, do you know?
Yes, you can. You can combine points.
Nice.
Is there a limit?
I think it's 100,000 points a year.
That's not bad, honestly. So there you go. You can do it with all three. Even better.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. That's adds a nice level of flexibility. And so even if you are just targeting one program and you have multiple people collecting points, you could earn a stack of points in any of these programs very quickly and easily get you on a way to your first redemption. So that's kind of my thought too, is, I'm a Hilton guy first and foremost, probably closely followed by a Marriott Bonvoy guy. But I think it depends. And that's such a cop-out answer, but everything in miles and points is it depends, depending on your situation and travel plans and personal finance and all of that. But I don't think it hurts to start out with one program and figure it out and get the ins and outs of that one settled, and then diversify from there. And long-term diversification should always be the play in miles and points.
Yeah, I think your options really do depend on also just how much you travel. Like compared to some people, I don't travel that much. And so, the only reason I'm able to get all these statuses is because of these shortcuts. Like, I start with 30 elite nights with Marriott, and then I only have to stay, 20 nights or less. And so I'm able to do that. But to do that organically with another program would just be out of my reach. But there's lots of people too. Danny's not on the call, but he's mentioned that he travels a lot for work. So if you're traveling 100 nights a year for work, that definitely puts you in a place where you could budget to access status with multiple programs pretty easily. So.
And you bring up work, and just one point on that. If you're able to book your own hotels from your work, or you're going to a conference or something like that, encourage or even ask if you can, because like I said, some of these credit cards, especially the Hilton cards, you can rack in over 10 points per dollar easily on every dollar that you spend at one of these hotels. So please, please, please don't let that spend go to waste.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I'm not sure if we fully mentioned it earlier, but using hotel co-branded credit cards at those hotel brands are always worth it. The multipliers on these cards are fantastic. I would always take full advantage if you hold one.
Absolutely.
So if we could kind of just rapid fire here really quick, summarize each program and the value that it brings to miles and points enthusiasts. If everybody, feel free to just jump in, but let's kick it off with Marriott. What do we all, what's the takeaway? What's the value that Marriott offers?
Well, it's the most accessible to Canadians. I mean, if you haven't yet gotten into US credit cards, you should, but if you don't, or if you're not there yet, Marriott's going to be the program for you. It's easy to get status. It has the largest footprint. At the same time, there's a term in the community called Bonvoy, and that's because Marriott has traditionally gone through a lot of devaluations. And so, you can sometimes find the points, earn and burn still applies. When you get Marriott points, you want to have a plan to use them.
Yeah, and I'll just quickly add, as we already discussed, the elite benefits are the most inconsistent at Marriott among the three brands we've been talking about.
Absolutely. It's, like you said, it's a flow chart, solve a puzzle type situation, which it's fine, I guess. But as soon as you don't deal with that with the other loyalty programs, you realize how much of a pain in the ass it is. Hilton, Quentin, this is all you. What do you like about Hilton? Why does it keep you coming back to it?
I think Hilton is a kind of a great choice because one, I think it's super accessible. I think just as accessible as any Marriott hotel. Anywhere you'll find a Marriott hotel, odds are just down the street you'll find a Hilton hotel. In addition, elite status just comes super easily. You can get top tier elite status with the credit card, and the multipliers when spending cash at these hotels is absolutely great. And I think you can find a good redemption just about anywhere in the world using Hilton Honors points.
Yeah, agree. I also love the free night certificates provided by many Hilton credit cards, whether it's a benefit for spend, benefit for holding, or a welcome offer. These free night certificates are the most powerful out of the three. They're pretty much uncapped in redemption, so well worth taking advantage. And also, Hilton Honors points can be earned very quickly in very large amounts if you are in the US credit card game and you are creative with your application patterns and what links you're applying for.
Mm-hmm.
What about Hyatt? I'm bowing out on this one. I have no skin in the game yet with Hyatt.
I'll start, and then Jeff can kind of take it away because he's very much a Hyatt expert, dude. I think Hyatt, for me, when I think of Hyatt, I think great cent per point redemptions. I think easily I would say 90% of the time you can get over 2 cents per point on a Hyatt redemption, which is great value for your Chase Ultimate Rewards points, or if you're earning Hyatt points directly with one of their co-branded credit cards.
Yeah, along with the fact that they're really the only hotel program left that uses an award chart. They have awesome elite status benefits, but on the other, some negatives are, of course, that there just aren't that many. Like if you travel outside of major cities, chances are there's not going to be a Hyatt there, where there will usually be a Marriott or Hilton. And their elite status is really, really difficult to acquire. You really just need to spend 60 nights at Hyatt properties to get globalist status. And globalist status is really the only status that's worthwhile, in our opinion, just because that's the status you need for free breakfast, club lounge access, and the rest of it. So a great program once you're kind of into the later stages of your credit card journey, just because the only way to acquire them is through U.S. credit cards and Chase.
So for the next segment of this episode, we're going to do some catch up on some listener submitted questions that we've had over the last few months. So starting off, we have a question from Roger. Roger asks, the other half of collecting and squirreling away points is having the ability to use them. You could consider discussing how to find flight availability in the Avios world and how to find availability to book on Aer Lingus, other than waiting for windfall dates when Qatar releases business flights that are not on their flex redemption. I've been finding that using Avios points from the west coast of Canada has proven to be difficult. Do you have any tips?
So we did do a nice deep dive on British Airways Avios in episode 4 of the podcast. We'll throw that link in the show notes. I'm not as experienced with Aer Lingus as it stands right now, but I can speak for Qatar Airways. I know it feels like we're all just waiting for that random windfall when they release, 1,000,001 dates. Consistently, what I've found, and I know others on this episode have found, is if you're looking at the literal schedule end of Qatar, so we're talking like 360 or 361, however many days out it is, whatever the farthest it lets you go, every day it reliably releases 2 business class seats at the saver rate. That's my best tip for that, short of waiting for the random drops.
Yeah, the only other new thing that's happened that seems to be helping a bit with availability is the taxes and fees have gone up,
right,
with Avios redemptions, and so that's unfortunate, but it's still a pretty good deal if you get that saver rate. And people are noticing there's more flights that are available at the end of schedule.
Yeah,
since that change.
Yeah, another big play with Avios. So the majority of us on this episode are west or western coast outside of Quentin. And we love Avios. The reality is you're just going to have to use a positioning flight the majority of the time. There's no way around it. So recently I went Edmonton to Vancouver to San Francisco for a night, and then used Avios to fly San Francisco to Tokyo Haneda for the trip on Japan Airlines. So it does obviously add an additional layer and another level of potential complication, but I was able to redeem my Avios for great value through that.
Yep, absolutely. So Roger had another question as well. So the other question is asking how to find Aeroplan flights originating in the US on Star Alliance carriers to avoid Aeroplan's market prices for flights that originate in Canada. So market prices, I assume, meaning dynamic prices. So Roger says when looking at flights from the US West Coast to Europe, South America, Mexico, and Asia, the flights offered on the Aeroplan site invariably route through Canada with at least one leg on Air Canada and thereby attract the dynamic or market price.
So I think the play for this one is you really need to hone in on that partner availability, right?
Yeah, I think what's happening is, if you just go and search a date for, a flight out of a US city, for example, the chances that there's going to be, partner availability, particularly if you're looking at business class, is pretty slim. So if you want those direct flights on partners, you've really got to, in my opinion, make use of the tools that search larger time ranges, which means you also have to be a bit more flexible around your booking dates. So we talked a lot on that exact topic in our episode 5 discussion around flight award search tools that we use with Aeroplan. So tools were mentioned like seats.aero, which is one that we really like, and points. Yeah. So we'll link those in the show notes as well, because we have reviews on Frugal Flyer on both of those.
Yeah, I think it's worth using those tools. I'm a big fan of Seats Arrow. Also, being flexible, Seats Arrow lets you look like, I don't know, how high does it go? Is it 180 days? I can't remember, but it's like crazy.
If you have the premium, it should be like full calendar.
Yeah. So there you go, right? It makes it so easy to just go through and look at large chunks of availability very quickly and find the pricing that you're looking for. But of course, as always, follow your, award flight best practices, have the flexibility, be open to positioning and flexibility with kind of your routing. And you shouldn't have an issue avoiding that dynamic or market pricing on Air Canada Aeroplan.
So next question is from Taylor. With the loss of Alaska Airlines MasterCard, Worldly MasterCard from MBNA in Canada, can you talk about how best to earn and use Alaska miles in Canada? Are there other flexible points that transfer to them? So the unfortunate answer to this is not really. With the loss of the Alaska Airlines card, that was kind of the last great way to earn Alaska miles for Canadians. Even in the US, it's not super easy because there really isn't many transfer partners. You can transfer Marriott Bonvoy, for example, to Alaska, but that's not really great value there. There was a way to transfer. So there's kind of a really recent news, actually. Alaska has acquired Hawaiian Airlines. And so Hawaiian Airlines were able to be transferred to Alaska. Again, this isn't accessible for Canadians, but there was an avenue where you could transfer membership rewards to Hawaiian miles and then to Alaska, but it looks like that also may not be available anymore either. So
yeah, it's a super recent development when we're recording this episode, so we'll keep an eye on it. But what I'm seeing right now in a few groups is that if you try to transfer US American Express membership rewards points to Hawaiian, it's essentially declining and refunding the transfer. So I'm not sure if they're shutting that avenue or what the play will be long term. If that does work, that would be great until the merger finishes in 2025, but I wouldn't hold your breath on that one.
So Gordon asks, how do I reinstate Amex membership rewards points? If I've canceled my Amex membership rewards credit card, I hold Amex Marriott Bonvoy personal card and Amex green card. How does he do it, guys?
So from my understanding, this was a more... So I'm kind of reading this question in two different ways. If you've already canceled your card, and that was the only card that was earning MR, unfortunately, I don't believe there is a way to rescue your MR.
No, they're gone. They're gone.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
So I'm really hoping Gordon didn't go ahead and cancel his card.
They should.
MR.
Correct me if I'm wrong too, but like, I think that's not necessarily that would always happen, but like that should be the customer service representative's job to kind of tell you that, like, this is what's going to happen to your points when you cancel this. So that would be unfortunate if that happen.
Yeah, I agree. Anytime I'm closing a card with any bank where I have like 10 points on it, they're like stressing that to me, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Otherwise, when I canceled my Canadian Platinum card, they informed me that the back end has actually changed in which all of your MR points have automatically pooled. I was still a bit paranoid, so I was calling in or using their text for the next few days after I canceled my Platinum card to make sure that they're all combined. So, but when you cancel an MR card, make sure you confirm that they're all pooled together or that they've transferred on to one of your MR cards. The other thing is that if you're canceling a membership rewards card, make sure you always have another one available to transfer for that exact same reason that we just talked about. If you don't, and you don't want to pay the premium annual fee of, let's say, the platinum card, we highly recommend you find a downgrade pathway. And I believe if it's platinum, you can downgrade all the way down to the green card, if that's still remember that correctly.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the same in the States. If you're holding American Express US cards, you do always want to have a membership rewards earning card to keep that balance. They're pooled, and it's very clearly shown that they're pooled within your American Express online account. But don't ever close all your MR cards because they'll just disappear, or at least redeem them first.
So the final question is from Teresa. Teresa says, "Hi, this is a great podcast." Thank you, Teresa. "I stumbled upon your website today and have already got great tips from the first 2 episodes. I have a question about American credit cards. Do you get verification texts sent to your Canadian phone number, or do you have to have an American phone number? I'm curious. I can share kind of my experience with this. And I do think it's provider, like it depends on your Canadian phone provider. For me, I never had an issue with Amex, and I'm with Bell for what it's worth. But with Chase, I was never able to get text messages to my Canadian number. And so I know when you're logging into Chase, you can request a phone call. So I was always able to log in. But sometimes if I'm calling and, if you're talking to the agent and they'll want to verify your identity with a text, I wouldn't be able to receive those. So that was an issue for me. But I'm curious if you guys have had that experience or...
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Chase doesn't work with any of the Canadian providers.
I'm with TELUS, and I do get Chase text messages.
You do? Okay.
Okay.
I think Josh said he does as well, right?
So I find it's iffy with Chase for me. So I'm with essentially subsidiary of TELUS called Kudo here in Alberta. I'm not sure how widespread that is in Canada. Is it out
I think
there?
it's nationwide.
Yeah,
nationwide.
there you go. So I get American Express US texts and all of that, 0 issues. Chase, I find it just depends sometimes. If I try to log in on a new device, sometimes the text doesn't work. But when I've had to call in and had a rep manually send me a text, that does work. So I can't really figure it out at this point. It's random, is what it feels like. So inconsistent.
So what I do now, because I have Google Fi, I know some of us have Google Fi, I just activate my Google Fi when I'm calling Chase, and I have both my Canadian and my Google Fi number registered with Chase in my account, and I've never had an issue getting texts or calling from there. Google Fi, we have an article on that, so on Frugal Flyer, so we'll link to that. It's really good, not just as something to get specifically for calling Chase, but for any travel. It's extremely useful as a travel number, and alternative to like things like eSIMs or local SIMs. It's $20 a month, but it's the flexible plan. You can essentially just turn on and off. So if you're going on a trip for a week, you can turn it on for a week, and you're essentially paying like the prorated amount of $20. And other than that, there's some other options I've heard of. I don't have personal experience with them, but I've heard they work well for SMS verification, which is Pago and Tello. So these aren't things you can just turn on and off. You've got to kind of buy in and pay the subscription fee to keep the number active. And these are around $3 to $5 a month. So those are options as well. There's also apparently a Google Voice method, but it's a bit complex to set up, and it's apparently quite spotty anyways. So I don't know if I would recommend that.
Google Voice doesn't work with Chase. This is just a personal experience. Doesn't work with Chase, but will work with American Express and Capital One.
Okay.
So it feels like American Express is like pretty consistent across the board, regardless of what you're using.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I agree. Like I'm a big fan of Google Fi. Just use it on my recent trip. If you have a US address that you can sign up for it with, which you should if you're in the US credit card game, it's well worth checking out, not only for credit card verification and US credit card purposes, but travel as well. It's a great tool.
With that, we're all caught up on listener submitted questions, but looking forward to answering many more in future episodes. As well, we're happy to hear any feedback from listeners on topics you would like to hear us talk about in future episodes, or even just things you liked or didn't like about our episodes thus far. If you're tuning in now for the first time, please also consider subscribing and leaving a review on your favorite podcast platform or on our website at frugalflyer.ca/podcast. We'll sign off here, wishing you well on your Miles and Points journey, and we'll catch you on the next episode of Miles Ahead, where we'll dive deep into US credit cards.